I'm Jeff.
I'm Donna.
And this is
The Meador Effect.
Out in Arizona where Saguaro Grow live Jeff and Donna Meador and their TV show. Talking about love and the things they do. Bringing peace and joy to people like you. It's the Meador Effect. It's the Meador Effect. It's their sincere desire to have an effect. As a matter of fact, it's the Meador Effect. It's the Meador Effect. It's the Meador Effect. It's the Meador Effect. It's the Meador Effect.
Thank you for joining us again. We love to have you guys with us. We have a great show lined up for you today.
I love when they spend time with us. Thank you so much. I love that.
And what are we going to be talking about?
Oh, the topic. We're going to be talking about
A three-letter word
3.
that if you knew it, understood it, and applied it into your life, it will change your life.
Yeah, okay. Don't give them too much too soon, okay? So we have a 3-letter word for you. And I want you to take a moment to write down a few 3-letter words that you think we're talking about.
Or just put them in your mind. What do you think that could be?
Yeah.
A 3-letter word that could change your life.
Now, this came about, I want to say, because I use this word all the time. I talked about it in my dating workshops. And then actually, honey, this is why we're such a great team. You came and said, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. If everybody knew what 3-letter word would change their life,
Yes.
it would make a huge impact and difference on their dating journey, especially,
Well,
right?
it's everything. The things that we talk about are about relationships, how to have a better relationship with your significant other, your spouse. But these principles apply to every area of your life. Your relationships at home, in business, your friendships. If you understood the principles that we talk about, I guarantee you guys, I promise you, it's a done deal. Your life will get better. You'll begin to have the kind of life that you've always thought about having, dreamed about having.
Okay, I'm glad you said all of that. This came about when I wrote my book,
Yes.
Dating It's Not Personal.
Which, by the way, if you would like to get a copy of that, you can go to meadoreffect.com, and there will be a link right there where you can pick up the best-selling author's book, Dating It's Not Personal.
Thank you, honey.
Mwah.
I love you.
Love you.
Now, so I'm writing this book. Why?
Yes.
Because I was a middle-aged woman going out dating, and I kept not having fun. And that's the exact opposite of what I encourage people to do. When
Yes.
people say to me, now I have no fun dating, I say, okay, you're doing it wrong.
All
so I
wrong.
spent time, effort, money, got coached, took a course on flirting, by the way, and wrote a book because I felt like women especially were missing the mark. They were not understanding what dating was really about.
And I will say that in her story, she actually spent the equivalent of a 4-year degree studying relationships and dating. And really, what is dating all about? What should it be about? And in her book, she spells it all out. Everybody that I have ever spoken to that's read the book or heard them talking to her about the book has said a couple of things, but they're always consistent. 1, you're a great writer. 2, this book changed my life.
Yeah, thank you, honey. That is so sweet. I am humbled by this, but the reason it came about was because I was terrible at dating. I didn't understand it. I had to learn what I was doing. And most importantly, I had to figure out why I was unhappy in the process, where the disappointments were. And so that's how this 3-letter word came up, which I constantly used but didn't realize it was a thing until you came along and said, baby, that's a thing. I'm like, whoa, it's a thing.
Well, I also wanted to say that she was in New York City. She was working in Manhattan, living in Brooklyn, and she was having trouble finding good dates. So it's irrelevant when it comes to how many people are around you. You don't want necessarily quantity. What you want is to find quality. And that's what Donna began to really take the time and develop that in her life and then help others to develop that in their lives. And that's where this 3-letter little word came about. And can I tell them?
No, not yet. I have one more story to tell you before you tell them. Okay.
No!
So I know. So here's the story. I'm talking to my girlfriend. who we would partner up and go on to these single dates in Manhattan. And I used to say to her, now, when we get there to the dance, the social, the single dance, don't hang around me. We're going to separate and we're going to do our thing and see who we might meet, right? So she meets this guy, and the next day I'm on the phone with her, and this is what she's saying to me. He could have been perfect, but there was just this one problem. There was too bad he didn't understand that we could have really had a good life together because whatever, he had a retirement and she had a summer home, whatever her story was. And she kept saying to me, too bad, but only this and but only that. And so what's the 3-letter word, honey?
But.
But.
B-U-T.
I kept hearing the but. I kept saying, well, if there's a but at the end of a sentence after you come back from a date, that's probably a good sign that you're not a match, right?
Well,
that's probably makes sense.
It's a big red flag. It's like, he's perfect in every way. I mean, he's like my perfect guy. Well, there is this one thing, and
but
usually it's that one thing that eventually causes the breakup or later down the line, the divorce.
No, okay, but I want to back up. It's not so much the one thing. It's not so much the one thing. It's the but.
Yes.
The but, because when you put a but at the end of a sentence, think about it.
Yeah.
I love this dress, but it's already out. I love these shoes, but what? They're too small, they're too tight, they're too red, okay? Yeah. I love anything with a but is basically a clear indication that you yourself are not really interested. You're trying to talk yourself into something.
Yes, and that should be a red flag.
And it's not so much a red flag that they're a bad person or that there's an issue.
Not at all.
It's that you're trying to talk yourself out of something.
Yes.
And I will say, after my first date with Jeff, there were no buts. There were no buts. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I was like, wow. I think I'm in love with this man.
Well, you didn't think that right away, but see, but
took me 2 weeks. That's another story,
which we'll cover in another episode. What we're trying to relay is you might find somebody out there if you're actually in a dating relationship, and they might be a great woman, they might be a great man, it just maybe not the person for you, not the great guy for you, not the great girl for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is something that a lot of people have learned in talking to Donna about these types of relationships.
Thank you, honey. Yes, yeah. I have so many people say there's no good men out of there, and I'm going, are you kidding me? I dated a lot of great men. I did, and by the way, I dated a lot of great men, but they weren't for me, right? Yeah. There's the but they weren't for me. I couldn't say that about this one.
Well, we're going to take it a step further because also thinking about if you're already in a long-term relationship, if you're in a committed relationship, you're married, or again, just in a committed relationship, sometimes we find ourselves using that little 3-letter word in our relationship. And so now what do we do with that word? That happened actually to me this morning when we were on our way over to the studio. We had stopped by to pick up some flowers for my beautiful, beautiful wife, but we were running a little late and I was starting to get really frustrated. And I'm in the store, and I can tell you why. When I was growing up, my dad was always late. Always.
Really?
Always, yeah.
I didn't know that.
And it would just eat at me. And I hate to be late. I mean, it eats at me, and I'm in the store, and it's getting to me, and I said, you know what? You need to change your story.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Well, that's...
I'm very proud of you, honey. I'm so proud of you.
Well, there's all these things, and I'm thinking to myself, this woman is perfect in every way. And I almost said, but she... And I, wait a minute. No. Don't go there. Don't go there, Jeff. Why don't you change your story? How about that?
You were going to say, but I'm always late.
Yeah.
Which is not true.
Not always. Anytime you say always, it's never true. Anytime you say never or always, you're wrong. The only time you can say always is when you say always or never and try to say it, then you're always wrong.
By the way, it does take two to tango. But let's get back to you changing your story. So when did you change your story to? Because I like to hear that.
Oh, I haven't changed my story at all. No, I had to stop and ask myself, why are you getting stressed about this? Why? I said, change your story, dude. I said, to what? And so I changed my story to, we are going to have a phenomenally great day, a great morning. We are going to go into the studio. We're going to have a great time, and we're going to be able to share and bare our hearts to you guys,
Right.
and hopefully be able to give you something to make your relationship better.
Isn't that good?
And when I just did the 180 and turned that story around, I got out to the car. I was still wanting to get here as quick as we could, but I wasn't in that hyped up anguish type of feeling, that struggle, like, I gotta hurry up. That was gone. So.
Oh, I'm so proud of you, honey. Everything happens for a reason. The dog had to go out this morning. There were things.
Everything.
There were things.
Everything.
But somehow, just to be fair, I did have it in my head. We had to be here 9:30, and then I had to figure out why my timing was off. But okay, so I don't know. Is there a song in here somewhere? Because I feel like I want to hear you sing now.
Well, okay. There's actually a song that I started working on a couple of weeks ago, and this song, I'm going to dedicate this song to the greatest country singer of all time, Mr. Johnny Cash.
Oh.
Once you start hearing me playing, hearing me singing, you'll understand why. Here we go. And by the way, it's called I'm on a Journey, and I'm just going to sing the chorus. And I'm on a journey. I'm on a journey. I'm on a journey with my wife. I'm on a journey. I'm on a journey. I'm on a journey. It's called life. I'm on a journey. It's called life.
Oh, I love that! Yay! Wow!
And Johnny
okay.
played Martins, and this is the Martin, and yeah, it sounds better on a Martin.
Oh, that is so cool, honey. Oh, I love when you sing to me.
Well, good.
It's even more exciting when it's about me.
Well, I did get in with my wife in there.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Thank you so much. Yeah, life is a journey, gang. Life is a journey, and you get to make decisions how you want to view any particular scenario that's going on in your life.
Yes.
And the timing of life is perfect.
Always.
And that's not to say that you should just disregard the people around you or their schedules or anything else that's going on, whether it's business or relationships. Mm-hmm. But it does mean that when things happen, and things do,
they do,
to understand that everything happens for a reason. We could have avoided an accident that we don't know about. We could have, there's just a million different things that could have taken place had our schedule been a little bit different, even by 5 minutes. Yeah. So those are important lessons. I'm really proud of you, honey, for coming to that.
Well, thank you. But even if nothing would have changed in the way of us getting here safe and sound, the fact is, you want to live your life in a state of happiness and joy, to where you're founded, you're solid. We have to get ourselves in a place, and we talk about this every show, personal development. You need to be working on yourself. If you're not working on yourself, if you're not changing yourself, nothing's going to change in your life.
That's true.
I had a decision to make earlier, and that decision was this. I can stay in the state that I'm in, being frustrated, feeling like I'm being rushed, or I can change my story. I can change my state. I can throw out that 3 little B-U-T word and understand that just how much I love this woman, how important it is that I'm with her and that we're doing this together. And okay, we're going to be a little late. So what? We're still going to be here. We're still going to be together.
Now, I have a question for you.
Only one.
When you started to tell yourself that story in your mind, was the trigger word when you heard yourself say, but? Like you started to say, I love everything about this woman, but was but the trigger word that made you go, wait a minute, there's a story going on here?
I don't really remember. I do remember very distinctly thinking, oh, dude, you got to change your story here. And we're always going to have things in life, big and small. We had a very, very, very dear friend of ours lose her husband last week, unexpectedly. 64 years old. You're going to have to think, Donna lost her husband. She never planned on being a widow in her late 50s. But sometimes you get thrown that curveball that you really never saw coming a few years before, a few months, a few weeks before. But when you get those curveballs, it's still a decision on how you are going to make the choice and live your life. How do you want your journey to be?
Yeah.
Where are you going on this leg of the journey?
Choices. It's
Yeah.
all choices.
Well, what popped into my mind was you could be on a journey and you're going to go all across the United States. I'm going to spend the next 4 months and just go all over the 48 continental states. I'm going to spend 2 more months. I'm going to go across all of the provinces of Canada. But the fact is, when you start, you've got one destination for that day. You can't hit all the destinations in that day, in the 2 days, 3, 4, 5 days. You've got a 4-month trip planned out. Say it's a month trip, but you have to take one day at a time. And on that day, my destination might be to get to LA. If it's going to be to LA, then I really should concentrate on my trip to LA and really not worry so much about how I'm getting to New York at that point.
I have a story that just popped up in my own mind. Not so much a story as a memory of a situation years ago, about 20 years ago. I told you I spent a lot of money and time on personal development classes, coaching.
Yeah.
And the gentleman I was coaching under for quite a few years said, there's nothing real except how you perceive it. There's nothing, think about that. There's nothing real except how you perceive it. And it took me a while to really, digest that, and years to really come to grips with what that really meant. But isn't that true today? We understand that if we tell ourselves a story, then we're making that our reality and how we want to deal with it.
Yep.
And then it also is saying that we're not in control of where our thoughts and our actions. And that's not so. Taking responsibility is a huge way for life success, relationship success, business success. Any kind of success is taking responsibility for every bit of action.
Yes. Well, what popped into my mind when you said that, in marketing, there's an old saying that perception is reality. And the first time I ever heard that in a marketing class, the example that he gave is, he said, how many people, what is the best tasting tomato soup on the market? And everybody in that class, there was about 15 of us, said Campbell's tomato soup. He said, okay, yeah. I would probably agree, but is it really the best tasting tomato soup on the market? I mean, is it really better than Wolfgang Puck's tomato soup? Is it better than this one? Better than that one? And he's naming off all these soups. And I got to thinking about it. We all did. And it's like, you know what? If my perception is that Campbell's tomato soup is the best, that's what I'm going to believe. That's what I'm going to hold on to, even if it's not true.
And that's really interesting about marketing, because that's true, right? We see something enough times, we start to believe it.
Yeah.
We hear a lie enough times, we start to believe it. So now we're getting a little off track, but there's the but, right? So
yes and no.
Yeah.
The fact is, we're talking about being on our journey. Yeah. We're talking about being aware of that 3-letter word. This new job, everything about this new offer is perfect. There's this one thing, but again, that should really give you cause for pause to really stop and examine. What's your story here? Why do you think that's the perfect job? Except, why is, name the scenario, name the situation. We're talking about life experiences and about our life's journey.
Yeah. And
we all have perceptions. The only thing that in my mind that's probably not a perception, that's an absolute truth, that this is the most beautiful, wonderful woman on the planet.
See, and I keep telling him beauty is subjective. He has refused to hear that since the moment I met him.
Hear what?
Yeah, beauty is subjective. But I love that he adores me, and I tell everybody they should marry their number one fan for sure. For sure.
Well, again, it's critically important in every phase of your life that you are being honest with yourself, that you are working on personal development, that you are trying to always see what might be out there to where you can actually move your life up a notch, and keep getting to a point where it just keeps getting better and better. It keeps flowing. You've got that dream life.
Awareness is so key.
Yeah.
Awareness. If you're not aware, like again today when you were aware that you started to have a different thought about me, or you started going off onto a trail about something,
Well,
you
it
said,
was
wait, that's a story. You were aware. That's my point.
Yeah, but it was about me. And that's why I was able to change. Because I was aware that it was my story.
So proud of you.
It wasn't her. I thought to myself, if you want to get here earlier, then I should have been the one to make the change, to make sure that we were ready to go at a certain time, but I wasn't. But anyways, it's a story, it's a life, it's a journey.
It's a lesson. It's all of that.
I love you so much.
Love you too, baby. Really.
Guys, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day, spending some time to come join us. We hope that something we have shared with you has had an impact and will help you in the future in your relationships, both personal and professional.
Yeah.
We just always like to say it is our sincere desire that the Meador effect have an effect on you.